Okay, so the first thing I want to talk about is how important it was for each fighter to control what Teddy Atlas likes to call the geography of the fight, meaning who is moving forward, who is controlling the center of the ring, and who is getting pushed to the ropes. Dmitry Bivol, for most of the fight, was the one coming forward and was forcing Zurdo Ramirez back. There are a number of things Bivol does, but one of the simpler things is his intelligent use of lead hand control. Now, before I break it down, if I were to sum Bivol's keys to victory, it would be because Bivol would pressure Zurdo back with his lead hand control, which would manipulate Zurdo into committing to punches. Then he would use push-offs from his lead foot to quickly pull from Zurdo's punches and then counter him after. So let's break it down. Zurdo is circling around and Bivol takes a step forward to pressure him. We see that Bivol sticks out the lead hand, and what this does is it takes control of the empty space between them. It occupies Zurdo's guard so that his hands are kept at home, and it allows him to see how Zurdo reacts so that he could set up counters for those reactions, and then it also allows him to check on his punching range at all times. From there, you see Bivol freely step into the space he was just controlling with his lead hand. Now Zurdo has a choice to make with Bivol in punching range. So we see Zurdo reacts by taking a half step back, which Bivol immediately eats up by stepping into that space given up by Zurdo. And we notice that Bivol wins a small victory by eating up Zurdo's real estate, and more importantly, keeps Zurdo defensively minded so that Bivol has a better chance at setting up his offense. And so it repeats. Bivol uses lead hand control, Zurdo takes a step back, Bivol eats up that controlled space by stepping forward. But the beautiful thing about Bivol is that Bivol is always ready with his guard up as he comes forward. Look at how his guard is ready in case Zurdo does punch. The most impressive thing that I saw about Bivol in this fight was that he's always close enough to be in his punching range, but he's not too close. He's far enough that he could still push off his lead foot to pull away from punches and make Zurdo miss, and then he still remains in his stance to be able to return with counters. Essentially, Bivol's in and out movement is incredible, but it's also incredibly calculated, and all the more impressive is that he's doing this all while being the smaller fighter. So fast forward a few more cycles of this, and we see when Bivol actually commits to a jab, Zurdo is going to try to get him back. So when he attacks, you notice that Bivol steps back and is able to counter the return fire from Zurdo. And notice that he steps back again to avoid the return fire again. But first, the message from today's sponsor, Boxing Showtimes. If you're a boxing fan and never want to miss a fight, Boxing Showtimes is the only app you'll need. This app has a full boxing schedule that will show you where to buy tickets, keep you up to date with boxing news, give you reminders on upcoming fights, and so much more. My favorite feature of Boxing Showtimes is the interactive map that allows you to see what places are showing the fights closest to you. Use my link in the description to download for free, and once again, thank you, Boxing Showtimes. And while the lead hand control can bait reactions from Zurdo Ramirez, it can also bait no reaction, which will allow Bivol to punch while Zurdo's guard is occupied. So if we watch it again, we see Bivol uses his lead hand control to occupy Zurdo, but more importantly, he keeps it out there to temporarily blind him. And you notice Bivol sneaks in his lead foot stepping into range behind his lead hand, blinding Zurdo Ramirez. And you notice Zurdo doesn't really react to it. He doesn't change his position. He doesn't really react to Bivol being in punching range now. Recognizing the opening to attack, Bivol sets out another blinder jab, which sets up his right hand that lands on Zurdo Ramirez. And you notice that Bivol also takes the dominant outside foot position to ensure that he lands and is also more safe. And then the left hook follow-up and is already back out of range to safety before Zurdo knows what hit him. Incredible distance control set up by incredible footwork set up by the lead hand. I know it's starting to sound like I'm sucking Bivol off, but his ability to get in and out on a longer and taller opponent is almost scary. Next, I want to talk about what seemed to be Zurdo Ramirez's game plan against the lead hand of Bivol, which was level changing or ducking down after seeing Bivol flash the lead hand. You might have noticed in the previous examples I just showed of Bivol's lead hand control that Zurdo responded with this tactic, and it's a very good option to do. It's good to change positions or give your opponent a different look when they try to probe you with their lead hand. Just be sure to mix it up and don't be predictable with your responses. It's possible this was Zurdo's answer to deal with Bivol's signature technique of pendulum stepping with a jab-hook mix-up, which I made a video on. This way Zurdo can avoid both the jab and the hook, and he could even counter off of it. So this first example is actually the best example of it, as you see both guys show their lead arms, and now Zurdo is waiting for that pendulum step. As you see, the pendulum step starts from Bivol. Now he knows that a jab or a hook is coming, so as you see, Zurdo reacts by ducking down, and this way he doesn't have to guess if it's a jab or a hook, since ducking avoids both. And of course, Bivol's in and out movement is so fast that you can't just counter him right away, so Zurdo has to wait for the follow-up punches and then he's able to slip the right hand and then counter it. Except Bivol catches onto this and actually makes an adjustment. As you see, the same situation here, they both show the lead hand, but at this time, as you see, Bivol pendulum steps with the jab, but then this time he shoots the uppercut as Zurdo ducks right into the uppercut. And the last thing I want to talk about is Dmitry Bivol's masterful display of the high guard defense in this fight. I mentioned at the very beginning of this video that Bivol always has his guard up when he's pressuring into punching range and moving forward. He does like to step back from punches as I showed earlier, but he doesn't always do that. Sometimes he'll stand his ground and block, sometimes Zurdo will time him stepping forward, giving him no choice but to block. Sometimes he'll get Zurdo to the ropes, and Zurdo will reverse him like you see in this frame. The point is, Bivol didn't always dodge every single punch to defend them, and often went to the high guard to do so. And what's astonishing is how little Zurdo was able to get past Bivol's high guard defense, a defense that is known for having many openings. So here we see Bivol come forward, and then Ramirez is going to attack him for stepping into range. So you see he feints the right hand, it looks like he feints a left hand, and instead comes up the middle with this up jab, which is something he did a lot, and then follows up with a left hand, which Bivol catches both on his high guard. But then you see he adjusts his guard to catch the right body hook. He pulls back his head just in case the hook was to the head. So he doesn't just drop his guard, he actually defends against both the headshot and the body shot by pulling back, but then dropping his guard to block the body shot. And if there is any point I want you to get out of this video, it's this. It's that there will always be openings no matter what defense you use, especially in the high guard defense. The key to having good defense is knowing where those openings are and adjusting to them. Because as you see, he knew after the left hand that a right hand was coming, and he knew that in his high guard defense that his open around the flanks, so he adjusted his guard to block the body shot. So here with Bivol along the ropes, you see Ramirez comes in with a jab, and then it looks like he feints the left hand to the body, he feints a right hook to the head, and ends up shooting this jab to the head, which Bivol just barely blocks with his high guard. And you notice that this jab has allowed Zurdo to step over to his left and create an angle where he can now loop his left hand around Bivol's high guard, because the main weakness of the high guard is the openings around the flanks. You could punch around the guard since it's best for defending against straight punches. The thing is, the best way to be able to easily punch around the high guard is to first step around to either side to create an angle of attack, and Zurdo has done that here. So what is Bivol going to do in this bad position? Bivol remembers that he has legs and can use them to move into the opposite direction to take away the angle of attack for Zurdo. So now Zurdo has to abandon the left hook, and now looks like he's going to try to shoot a right hook around the high guard. Bivol continues moving and sees the hook coming. You notice that he adjusts the guard to pull from the hook since he saw it coming, and knowing that the hook is likely to get around his guard, Bivol just drops it entirely in order to avoid the punch. And then you see he just gets off the ropes, just like that. Here once again with Bivol along the ropes, Zurdo probes to bait out the lead hand and now is going to attack Bivol. You see he feints the left hand and then comes up with a right uppercut, and you see that he steps to the outside angle, so now he has the angle around Bivol's high guard. And then you see the left hand up the middle gets blocked, and after the left hand, the obvious right hook is coming, and Bivol knows that he's open for the right hook where he is around his guard. So once again, he steps over to the opposite direction in order to take away that right hook. And then from there, the only punch available to Zurdo is the straight left, which Bivol catches on his high guard. And then you see that he tries to reverse Zurdo, but Zurdo smartly just outmuscles him. And I'm going to end it there. Mainly what made the big difference for Bivol to take the majority of the rounds was the fact that when both guys had their offensive bursts, Zurdo rarely got anything past Bivol's high guard, and when Bivol attacked, he landed a lot of his punches cleanly. I was thoroughly impressed with Bivol's performance. As I said, the in and out movement, pulling away from the longer fighter, making him overextend, then being back in his face countering him was a sight to behold, and I'd love to see if the fight between him and Beterbiev ends up happening. What do you guys think about that fight? Let me know in the comments, and if you want to bet on it, be sure to use my BetUS affiliate link in the description. It'll go towards helping out the channel. As always, thank you all for watching, and special thanks to my GOAT tier patrons for supporting the channel: Jason Mahinan, Grant Gabriel, Albert Chen, Jeff, Dmitry Drozdov, Andre, Gostaligeza, Mark Price, Marshall Bot, Swaz and the Bear, and my channel member Hot Pocket Maestro. You guys keep the channel going, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.